Obviously, as I said, the last video was actually the last one for identifying the rocks, like the normal rocks that are not gemstones or fossils. So yeah, I think this is going to be the only video that I even need to do on my gemstones, because it turns out that there weren't that many as I suspected, as like there were of the original other rocks. So I can just go through them pretty quickly in one video. Alright, so I will be cutting out because I'm gonna be going layer by layer in this little case here. This is where I keep my gemstones and like other pretty little rocks that I have. So I'm gonna be going layer by layer. The first layer is laid out here with like all my identifications for them, for my, you know, ease of use and like access, because even though I know what they are and I identified them myself, I don't always remember just by looking at a rock exactly what I decided it was, because I did do that yesterday. So yeah, this is the container that I will be going through, so I'll keep cutting in and out. Once I'm done with this top layer, the next time that I'm going to be cutting in is going to be this layer that's laid out, and then I'll be back in its place, and so on until we reach the bottom. The bottom is all geodes, including these two that didn't fit in there. So I believe I already identified one of the geodes, but since this is actually the gemstone / mineral video, I'm just gonna remind you guys what it is if I already did do it. Sorry for those that saw that video. If you don't like repeats, let me know. But I felt like it would be more organized, and I probably should have organized it like that before I started going through my rocks to begin with. But you learn as you go, you know? Okay, so the first level is just all pretty, like, polished, tumbled stones that you would expect to find at a gift shop, or that you can get done yourself. I'm not sure what the pricing is, but sometimes if you find specific gems, you can get them, like, nice and polished at a price. I just don't know where to do that or how much that costs, so you'll probably have to do a little research on that yourself. The first thing I'll show you guys are not the carved animals, but the actual, like, gemstones themselves. The carved animals are really cool. I kind of knew where they came from when I first bought them, but I had to refresh my memory, and I was really pleasantly surprised. So yeah, we're going to start with the two most basic of any gemstone collection. Let me just fix this camera a little. There we go. And if you see the ring light, my bad. It's kind of hard to try to get enough lighting without it turning into a glaring mess for these tiny things, so, you know, bear with me. But yeah, so this is quartz. Just quartz. It's a point, obviously. It's really cool. You can actually see the crystal shape of quartz. And it's like that for the small ones as well as the big ones. Quartz has a very defining crystal form. That's one of its IDs that we use for the mineral itself. So yeah, that's a really nice big quartz that I got. If I'm not wrong, I got it when I went to go visit, I believe it was a mine. I just can't remember exactly. A quarry, one of those kinds of places, except they had a gift shop. I bought this there. And this little guy I also got in one such gift shop. It's another piece of quartz, very small. And no, this is not a piece of quartz that, like a smaller piece that broke off those. Like, this is a separate piece. I remember that specifically. Why did I waste my money on two pieces of quartz? Because sometimes quartz don't all look the same. In fact, a lot of the times they don't. You guys will see. There's a lot of little minerals and like rocks and stuff like that, especially just in this collection alone. There are a few gemstones that are quartz. They just have different names because of different features. For example, an agate is a quartz rock. So now you guys know. There's a lot of quartz out there. A lot of what you guys are wearing in like those cool necklaces and other pieces of jewelry, a lot of it comes from quartz. That's its origin. This is a great example. This is a gray agate. This is just a piece of quartz. And naturally, it's going to be a little bit difficult for you to see the cool stuff that polished gemstones do in the light. Like how you can see different colors peering out as you turn it, and it reflects light differently, and then light goes in different. It refracts differently from different angles. It's going to be hard to capture that on a camera, but from what I am seeing, there's little pieces of yellow peering out at me, blue. The whole rock is kind of blue-gray, and then there's just random spots of like yellowish color. So that's a gray agate. That's a quartz, so I'll just put it next to the other quartz. I'm going to keep the identification tags next to it this time because I'm going to be taking photos as I usually do, and these are even harder to tell apart for a person who doesn't know, like, rocks and stuff like that, like I do. So I want to make it easier on my editor to place the photos where they belong. We are on to the next one. This is carnelian agate. Oh no, I ripped it. I'll actually leave the tags that are taped where they are. So yeah, this is carnelian agate, another quartz. You can kind of see the color more in here, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of carnelians. Those are agates, which are quartz. Hopefully the colors are showing up well. It's kind of, like I said, hard for me to tell if it's showing up, but if not, I'll go ahead and describe it to you guys and also have a picture. It's white and like orangish yellow with like a darker orange spot. I know that this is probably not the super exciting high energy gemstone ID that you guys would probably expect from someone looking at them, but they are really cool rocks. I'm just more of a, original rock nerd and not necessarily as addicted to like polished gems as like I imagine. Well, not addicted. I don't think you guys are addicted to it. You might be. I don't know. I don't know what problems you have, but it's more like I'm not really that impressed by them is what I was trying to say. Like most people are who don't see rocks in their original form. And they might still see rocks in their original form and think the gemstone version is better. I respectfully disagree. I think gemstones in their natural habitat look so awesome. You can kind of see different stuff in it that you wouldn't be able to see in a polished gemstone, for example. But that's neither here. Let me not go on a rant. This is aventurine. There's actually two pieces of aventurine. One is blue and one is green, just to show you that the same type of gemstone can come in different colors. I love the shade of blue that this one is. It's like, I don't know exactly what the name is, but it kind of reminds me of like a soft baby's blanket, But yeah, so there's that. It could also just be that my mind is on babies because I want to be a mother someday, but when you turn a certain age, your hormones start playing with you. So yeah, this is green. Obviously, I think you guys know that it's green unless you're colorblind, in which case you now know. Yeah, this is green aventurine. Looks pretty cool as well. I like the color. I'm just more of a fan of, I'm lying, honestly. I like green and blue in equal measures. Green just happens to look better on me. But yeah, so this kind of reminds me of like moss or like grass or something like that. And if you guys are wondering, this is not because I tried to hurt myself or because I got injured. This is just a shot. I had to do blood work today, so if you see like a band-aid here, that's what it's for. I don't remove the bandages right away. I'm not one of those crazy people that just rips it off as soon as I walk out of the blood work lab. I leave it there for a couple hours. I'm not sure why. The bleeding probably has stopped way before then. And then I suffer for it by having to pull all the hairs off with the band-aid. You guys didn't need to know that, but I told you anyway. Anyway, this is tiger's eye. I'm sure you guys, a lot of you know this one. This is one of my favorite types of rocks, like in types of gems to have in like jewelry form. This is something you'll see me wearing a lot. I have a bracelet. Hold on, let me show you guys. Actually, I'll be right back. I saw something else while I was here as well, so I'm also going to bring it. I'll put that with my amethyst. So yeah, this guy. This is tiger's eye. I love it in jewelry form. It's so pretty. I love wearing this guy. I can't wear it often in my classes because I go to baking classes and you're not allowed to wear jewelry there. So this is about as decked up as you'll see me for the most part. And I try to take advantage of the days that I don't have anything to do, like that's in the kitchen, so I can wear my little jewelry. So yeah, this is tiger's eye. I'm gonna see where I took up the space with the amethyst. Just gonna put this here. Now this one is really cool too. Snowflake obsidian. It is so pretty. Snowflake obsidian has to be one of the prettiest gems that I've seen, honestly. I love the little white spots. It makes me think more of flowers than of snowflakes, but, I can see what they were thinking. I see the vision, Now, this is probably another one that you guys all know extremely well. This is red jasper. I did only have the one piece for a long time, but at my church they had like, I don't remember which service it was, but it was a special one. I know that, like, for a holiday, and they gave out these cool little red jasper crosses that like were carved, and they have unique kinds of like patterns and like different like color. I'm trying to find the word. Different ways that colors show up in different patterns for each cross, so they were all individual. And that's just the thing with red jasper. You're always going to see a different type of pattern to it, but generally the same types of colors. This is what I'm talking about. It's a little cross. I thought it was made out of wood when I first saw it, and then they told everyone during the service that it was actually made out of a stone, and that's pretty cool. And that's all I really have to say. So yeah, this is an amethyst. Everyone probably knows what an amethyst looks like. This is actually my birthstone. I don't know if I've said that before. Probably in one of my earlier videos, but yeah, so this is another smaller piece of, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to show it, honestly. Can you see that? This little piece of amethyst? Hopefully you can. So, yeah, that's my birthstone. For that reason, I got an amethyst point necklace. Yes, I am an Aquarius. I was born in February, so yeah, really cool stuff. I like that amethyst is the gemstone. I remember when I was younger, I used to be pretty upset because some of the other rocks look so much more interesting. And I always thought amethyst looked so boring, you know? I know that probably sounds crazy to some of you, but that's because I got used to it. So I was always seeing it because it's my birthstone. And then I kind of got bored of it and I started to... I always wanted rose quartz instead or something like that because I love rose quartz. But, you know, this has grown on me over the years. I can see the appeal now. It's really pretty. And it's kind of cool that you can find little caves of like amethyst in Minecraft and everything. I don't know if you can do that with the other rocks. You probably can, but it looks really pretty in the game. So I think that that's another victory in honor of my birthstone. Sorry, my thoughts are, as per usual, scattered. You guys will get used to that. This is red marble. This is the first of my carved things I'll be showing you. This is a carved apple. And it's just red marble. Really cool. I actually ran some tests on it. You can see where I scratched it. But you'd have to get pretty close to see that. I don't think you would see that from far away, you know. I don't know, actually. Maybe you can. In any case, I'll keep the nice side pointing out like I did with that poor piece of, like, what was it, calcite, that I completely ruined the pink, pretty white color of, like, the pretty white pink color of it. Yeah. Yeah, you kind of mess up your rocks when you're testing them, and I didn't know that this was marble, honestly, but I did drop some vinegar on the little cut, and it did fizz. And I was like, huh. So yeah, marble. Now, the other carved creatures. So these are all soapstone creatures. Like, they basically are sourced from Peru. Apparently, it's very common. It's a practice. I don't know how common it is, let's be real. I've never been to Peru. But I've heard and I've read, like, and I've kind of done some little research on that it seems like it comes from some kind of practice they have of, like, carving animals for, like, luck and other types of, you know, good things to wish on other people. And they are pretty well made, honestly. These guys really know what they're doing. I imagine it's because there's a whole artisanal craft to it. This is a little turtle. I don't know why, but I love him the most. I have two owls. One is lightly colored and the other one is more dark. I think I had the dark one first. Yeah. And I've had the dark one for years. I've also had this little pig for years. I guess it's, you know, to me it would make the most sense if this had to do with, like, money and, like, you know, finances and stuff like that. The little ear did break off. I hope that that's not, like, a bad omen, but it is what it is. I'm not that careful with them. I probably should. I am more careful with them now, but I didn't used to be. This is a little dog. I don't know what this represents, but I just like it. I just think it's neat. I have a little cat somewhere, but I'm not going to go find him, honestly, because I have some more soapstone animals in my bookshelf, and I don't feel like digging through to find them. So, yeah, there's that. So, I think that's the first level done, so I'll go ahead and trade everything for the second level like I told you guys I was going to do. Be right back. Alright, so I'm back. I actually decided to do things a little bit differently than I had originally intended. Only because it makes more sense to show the geodes before I show the middle level. So basically I lied, or rather, I lied without being aware of it, so I guess it was more just that I didn't know that I was wrong. Those were not the last of my rocks in my last video. I had some very tiny ones that I had placed in here and completely forgotten about. Because sometimes I'll do that with my really small rocks. I'll put them in special places so I don't lose them. Or like they don't get crushed by some of the bigger rocks. So yeah, I've had them in here this whole time. So that's what's on the middle level. So I'll end with that. But for now, since you guys I know are all excited about these gems, I'm going to show you guys some of the geodes that I have. I don't have a lot. I know that that might sound odd for a geologist, but I guess I just never got around to collecting as many geodes as like normal gemstones and like rocks and things like that. So I have, I would say, yeah, 4 geodes. And actually, I forgot one rock from the top level earlier. You guys probably saw it in the video. We're like, no, you forgot one. Don't worry, I noticed. So this is black tourmaline. Tourmaline, whatever. I don't know. I don't know why I said it that way, but I normally say tourmaline, but tourmaline is what came out this time. So yeah. This is also a really popular one, so I'm sure most of you guys know what a black tourmaline is. So yeah. That was the last one from the top level. So yeah, my geodes now. This is the one that I said that I probably already identified in an earlier video, but I'll show you guys again. Amethyst geode, obviously. I actually don't have much amethyst in general, but I feel like the ones I do have are the ones that I think are worth actually buying or pursuing. So yeah, there's that. This is the cool one that I'm going to open up for you guys. But I'll start with like the quotation marks, not so cool ones. This is a Druzy, I think it's like called a Druzy Mist Thunder Egg. I actually didn't know what the heck that was. I know that that's what it was called when I bought it, but it slipped my mind, and I didn't really think about what that meant, because at the time that I got it, or, you know, I can't remember if it was that someone gave it to me or that I bought it, but I remember knowing what it was when I got it. Like, knowing the title, I should say, but I didn't know exactly what it was. It turns out it's an agate, so it's another quartz. So, it's just a really cool one, apparently. Got to do with like volcanic gases and like the way things form in chasms. I'm not going to get into all that right now because, you know, I'm sure some of you guys are not interested in knowing all those details. But for those of you that are, go ahead and let me know and I'll probably do a little video about it. So yeah, this is the pattern on mine. Because a lot of the Druzy Mist Thunder Eggs have different patterns inside the little crack that you can see. They all have different patterns. That's why they're so appealing. And they all come from the same place too, apparently. I didn't know that. So yeah, this is just mine. It's just one crack. Some rocks apparently have whole big cracks that take up most of the geode. And you can see really cool stuff in there. And some other rocks have like more than one, but they're not that big. So it really depends. You can find different ones wherever you go. So yeah, this one never likes to stand up straight, so whenever I put it on a flat surface, I often have to lean it against something so it doesn't keep falling with every little movement. Especially because I am not always careful and sometimes I bump into my desk, so. Anyways, this is an Angel Aura Quartz geode. You can kind of see the rainbow, hopefully you can see like the rainbow color of the sparkling coming off of those gems. This is probably the prettiest geode that I've got. It's just so, I really like Angel Aura Quartz, obviously, so yeah, this is one of my prized possessions. Not enough for, like, you know, I'm not going to sacrifice my life for it, and I probably won't be that upset if I lose it. So I don't know if I should call it a prized possession, but I do like that I have it. Anyway, this is the guy that I have to open. This is exactly the form that it came in, essentially. It came in this big rock thing. Before, this was the only part that I could actually see in through. I bought this, I believe. And I'm the one who cracked it open with my hammer per the instructions. Okay, I'm not doing this for no reason. It did say you could do that. I probably wouldn't have done it if it didn't, because it wouldn't have occurred to me. Well, now it's having a hard time opening up. So yeah, that's how it looks like on the inside on that half. That's how it looks like on the inside on that half. So yeah, really cool stuff. It's really neat that it's like basically the entire expanse of that rock. And look how plain it looks on the outside too. It's so weathered and kind of gross looking, and you probably wouldn't pick this up, but you know, you never know what you could find. And this is a little piece of the quartz geode that broke off for the big one that I just showed you guys. So there's that. Now I'm about to switch over to the last level, which is the second one in this case, to show you guys the rest of the tiny rocks that I didn't get to because I didn't know that they existed until now. I'll be right back. So this is the last level that I have for you guys of my little tiny rock collection sample slash mostly gemstones and geodes, but you know, there was a few rocks that I missed. And it looks like this might be a lot, but it's, yeah, it's a lot. Wow, I had a lot of tiny little rocks in there. Anyway, so this, I'm going to start with, I'm going to kind of work my way towards that little corner near the container. Jesus, I can't even remember the word. Near the display case. Guys, I have a degree, I promise. So yeah, this is a milky quartz. Very pretty. It's so pretty that I guess the reason I put them all in that display case is because like the pure form of the minerals themselves are so pretty that I like to pair them with the gemstones in terms of like aesthetics, because it kind of gives the same beautifying effect to a room as like gemstones that are polished or like jewelry and stuff like that. So yeah, milky quartz, very pretty. Normally quartz is transparent and see-through. It doesn't have like it doesn't really have like an opaque color in terms of like the other raw quartz that I showed you guys. If I can find one, because I put them all back here while I'm working on the other levels. Ooh, what a mess. Don't look at that. So yeah, you see how this guy is like really transparent, really clear. If there's a color to it, it's still mostly transparent. This one's more opaque. That doesn't mean that it's not a quartz. It just means that there might be impurities or something else going on in there. And that's where they get their specific names from, like milky quartz, for example. So yeah, anyways, putting this guy back here. Now, these are both pyroxenes. You know how I've been identifying some rocks and be like, this is a pyroxene, this is an amphibole. And you guys have probably been thinking, what the heck is the difference? I'll show you guys the difference because I actually have a sample of hornblende. So yeah, this is pyroxene. Pyroxene tends to have like shorter, stubbier crystals. Less of like I guess the specific way that hornblende shines is very different from pyroxene. Pyroxene has more of a glimmer effect as you turn the rock because the little like the little crystals are more prismatic and they're smaller. So like it kind of reflects more light off, but it doesn't. Yeah, you can kind of see it from a lot of different angles. Now this guy, this is the hornblende. There are some angles that you turn the hornblende to that you don't. This is really cool. Sorry, I'm just kind of blown away. So yeah, this is the hornblende. The hornblende has much longer crystals, so you tend to have more of a flat surface of a sheen. Whereas because of the smaller crystals on the pyroxenes, it's more of a glimmer, and you won't see a whole layer like a little flat surface. Kind of makes you. Hornblende crystals kind of make me think of micas in terms of having sheet-like glimmers. Of course, these are not sheets, these are just really long crystals, while micas are sheet crystals, but that, you know, that's neither here nor there. I'm trying to draw similarities for you guys so you can kind of start telling the difference between different types of crystal faces as well, because that does help you identify rocks. But yeah, so 2 pyroxenes, little guys. This is a hornblende. Now, I know I've already told you guys about this, but in a lot of like backyards in Pennsylvania, you can find diabase, which is just like mafic, phaneritic type rocks. Actually, I think diabase, does it fall more in like the, I can't remember if it's small grained or big grained, because all grains look the same to you without a magnifying glass. Yeah, I think this is somewhat intermediate in composition, but yeah, this is diabase. It has the exact same kind of look to it that the other piece of diabase that I have does. It's just smaller, so I stored it away so it wouldn't get like snapped or like crushed or something. Because the other one was a lot bigger. Although the other diabase like samples I have, because I think I have 2 more besides this that I show you guys. One of them is already kind of fragile because of the weird awkward shape that it has where it's thin at 2 different sides. So maybe I should store that one closer to this one. Anyway, That's just me kind of thinking to myself for organization's sake. Now, this is marble with calcite. Like, calcite inclusions, because I wouldn't call this a vein. It seems more like it's random bits of calcite kind of injected in there. So it might be more calcite inclusions. My guess is that marble was forming, obviously, as time went on. Gaps were filled by more calcite, and yeah. Marble is the metamorphic version of calcite. So yeah, it still got a lot of the same qualities where it'll like fizz. It has somewhat similar hardness, although I think marble is a little harder. You know, stuff like that. So yeah, those little pieces of like of white stuff, that's calcite. So we're gonna start. I'm gonna work my way down on this row. So these are all quartzite, but one of them I know that they all look different, but they're all quartzite, I promise. This is a sample of quartzite. And quartzite is basically another metamorphic form of like quartz. You can also have quartz and metamorphic rocks and like gneisses and stuff like that, but this is just its specific form. That's where not a whole lot of other minerals have survived to that point, and that's when it tends to make quartzite, because gneisses and other rocks like that tend to have foliation bands because it's different types of it's different composition, minerals in there. Quartzite doesn't really have anything else except for quartz. So yeah, that's what happens when rocks travel a long time, I imagine, before being metamorphosed. Because I've told you guys, quartz is one of the longer lasting, more durable minerals that not a whole lot can damage, so they tend to withstand a lot more weathering than like calcite or feldspars. Feldspars disappear really fast when they're out there exposed to the elements. That's why there's not a whole lot of rocks with it that are sedimentary. In fact, I don't think most sedimentary rocks have feldspar in it. But as time goes on, sometimes things can happen where the feldspars come back or other rocks come back, and then they can be incorporated into metamorphic rocks. Other times, rocks travel for a long time and then get themselves into some situation where they're metamorphosed, and all they really have is quartz at this point, and that becomes quartzite. Long-winded ramble, I know, but I just wanted to tell you guys. Now, this is quartzite as well. You're probably thinking, that's weird. I didn't think, because, quartzite is just made up of quartz, as I just said. So how could it have banding if it doesn't have other minerals? I imagine that this basically means that, because there's always exceptions to the rules. So anytime that a scientist tells you, oh, this is generally, the case for something, that doesn't mean that there aren't exceptions. This is one of those exceptions. Sometimes, in mostly quartz rocks, other rocks can kind of be, kind of work their way in over time, or all at once, depending on what's going on, and then that causes foliation banding. This is still quartzite, though, because it displays all the other characteristics of quartzite according to my test. It just happens to have, these little foliation bands. And now, this is another piece of quartzite. Yeah, they can all look pretty different. Don't ever expect your rocks to all look exactly the same just because they're made of the same stuff. Humans are made of the same stuff, and we definitely do not look the same. So, in fact, that's caused a lot of problems over time. So, yeah. This is all my little quartzite samples. Now, these are carnelian. This is a carnelian agate. Remember how I showed you guys, like, a couple minutes ago, my polished carnelian agate? I have an unpolished version. They still have that, characteristic orangish hue of carnelian agate. You see the difference between polished? You can actually see more of the color coming out in, more of a shiny, obviously, way, and it's kind of deep or orange in some spots. This is more of a sugary, it looks like a sugar crystal, grainy type carnelian agate that hasn't been polished yet. Yeah. So, excuse me. Now, this is pyrite and mica, I believe. It's got, I would say, mostly equal quantities of both. I was running tests, and both of the characteristics kept showing up, like the streak color. You know, the streak color is telling me that this is probably a mica, but the absolute heaviness and all the little glimmering of the pyrite that's clearly visible here points to pyrite. And then the hardness was really difficult to discern because, like, I believe it could scratch a knife, but it could also be scratched by a nail in some places. So it was kind of weird. So yeah, I just decided, you know, whatever, I don't have to have it down to an exact science. This is probably mostly equal parts pyrite and mica, which does happen. Sometimes you're gonna have rocks that are telling you, hey, they pass the test for certain minerals, but they don't pass certain tests for that mineral because they're also telling you that there's also parts of another rock that's in here. So don't ignore that, okay? Don't put it in, as my mom has a saying where it's like, don't put it in like the broken pocket, like don't just put it in there and forget about it and let it go, essentially. Like, don't just ignore something if it's two conflicting pieces of evidence and both pieces of evidence are equally strong. Even if you want to just settle for one identification, I would suggest doing research to make sure that it's not possible that there could be, you know, equal parts of different types of minerals in your rock. Because then that makes your rock more interesting. You don't want your rock to be boring. So yeah, this is an argillaceous, wow, limestone with graphite and calcite veins. Now that's quite an identification, right? All argillaceous means is that it's very clayey, so there's shale in there. So they would also call it a clayey limestone in school when I was there anyways. What that means is it is both limestone and shale in equal parts. Another rock where it's not just one type of thing. Now on the surface there's a coating of graphite, and I ran enough tests to be able to determine this. That's why it's so shiny as well, and it really rubs off quite easily. And then that little white stuff is just a calcite vein, which makes sense considering that the rock is equal parts limestone and shale. It makes sense that there would be more limestone in there. So, yeah. So then, these guys are all calcite. This, I think, I'm gonna be honest with you, I think this broke off, or like a larger vein to a rock, because it looks like it's kind of like, you know how I've showed you rocks that have like gray mass, and that could be shale or limestone or whatever, white vein, gray mass underneath, like kind of closing in like a sandwich, because the veins are where the calcite filled up over time. I think that this is like part of it used to be part of a vein, and this is indicating that it started to become the host rock again, because it's mostly like, you know, it's gray under here. So I think that this just chipped off the bottom or the top of a vein, honestly. This is another piece of calcite with cool little calcite crystals that are like slightly orangish on this side. I don't know if that shows up in the camera. And then like weathered surface on this side. And you can kind of see like the little white part of calcite here as well. Calcite can be like, it tends to be white in its pure form, but in its impure form it can be very gray, or like, you know, maybe other colors. Like this is a pure form of calcite. Very white. This is more of a pretty, like one of those pretty rocks like the milky quartz. At first when I looked at them, I thought it might be the same, but then I kind of examined them for a couple more seconds, and I was like, no, they're not, they definitely don't have the same identification. So then I ran tests on them. So yeah, this is a chert with amphibole inclusions. Now an inclusion, let me see if I can explain this concept quickly and efficiently. So basically, a host rock is like whatever rock was there originally. It can be of one composition. It can be of like multiple compositions. It really doesn't matter. The point is the rock is already there. It's just hanging out. And then, for whatever reason, something drops into it and starts... Usually there's a lot of heat involved, or at least enough time and enough heat to like allow the two compositions to like kind of accept each other. But yeah, like for whatever reason, some new pieces of rock kind of wade into a pool, you could say, of another type of rock. Like the other, oh, wow, I'm getting so mixed up with this explanation. So the original rock is a pool. right? Let's put it this way. And then the people that get into the pool are the inclusions. Now, let's pretend through some horrible catastrophe that the people just get glued in there forever. Those people are now inclusions that are included, that they're kind of just stay there in the rock, and they're just called inclusions. They weren't originally there, but they got in there somehow at some point during the rock's formation over thousands of years, and so now it's just part of the rock. So yeah, this is chert with little black dots. Those little black dots are like the amphiboles that got in there at some point. Now, this is a garnet, pyroxene, and quartz mix. I could tell immediately it had garnet in it just from like the characteristic red color and like the kind of feel of garnet. I've gotten used to how garnet tends to feel. The white stuff is quartz. And the dark stuff, like the really black stuff, like here, that's the pyroxene. Yeah, you can see that the pyroxene is all broken up and it's not one long crystal. Because if it was hornblende, that whole little black spot right there that I showed you guys, that little layer that looks kind of like a random vein, that's all just little tiny pyroxene crystals. And so they kind of do a glimmer shine, and they don't look like one continuous surface. So, yeah. Now, I forgot to go over this one. This is also calcite, but with, like, galena as well. Really cool stuff. So the calcite is obviously the white stuff. The galena are the little black minerals that got included in there. So, in order, because I was actually between, like, galena, sphalerite, and, what was the last one? Hematite for, like, the little black crystals. Because they could be any number of things. There's a lot of stuff that likes to show up with calcite. And it's pretty hard to tell when they're small, tiny, black crystals. Like, it could literally be anything. So I was between galena, sphalerite, and hematite. Like I said, hematite, however you say it. I did determine that it was galena with the streak and crystal shape. So the streak test, I've already showed you guys in one of my videos, I believe. You just put this against unpolished porcelain, and whatever color it is tells you something about the idea of the rock. It left more of a characteristic galena streak, which I believe is white. And we'll have to fact check that real fast for you guys. I can't remember exactly what the color is that you're looking for. I do believe it's white, because sphalerite and hematite have, like, different color streaks, like orange, red, blackish type things. And this one left a very boring white, so I think that it's just galena for that reason. So yeah, and galena does show up a lot with calcite, so that makes sense. So now, this is a nephritic jade. You're probably thinking, that does not look like the jades that I've bought. Yeah, well, this is in its natural form. Doesn't look that appealing, I know, but that's just what jade looks like. It's a nephrite jade, though. Which you tend to see more like a dull, earthy kind of like color to it, which is what this one has. There's another one called jadeite. Imagine calling something a jadeite jade, but whatever. So yeah, they weren't being very creative with those names, but yeah, the other jadeite is more of a like shiny type jade, so that was how I was able to tell the difference. This is slate. It's very simple. So, shale is a sedimentary rock. That's like the layered, boring looking rock that you see in a lot of places in Pennsylvania. It's just gray or brown, in some places red. Shale becomes slate in the first step of metamorphism? Anyway, but yeah, so then it's like, it's still platey, but it gets more brittle, and it's like got kind of a dull glimmer to it, like a little shine that shale doesn't have. Shale is very dull, it has no shine at all. This one has slightly shine, and it's very, I could definitely see the layers when I look. It's very squashed together, but maybe you guys can see it through the camera. But yeah, like it's really squashed together, but I can see slight, like, facility, which just means layering. If something is described as being fissile, it means that it's got layering type, like, pattern to it, I guess. And so that's exactly what this has. And it's also glimmering, Now, this is a diorite. I think I've already told you guys about that as well. Diorite is just an intermediate igneous rock with, like, equal parts dark volcanic rock and light volcanic rock. Again, that's called mafic for the dark ones and felsic for the light ones. So yeah, I love diorites. They look like little Oreos, like little cookies and cream, ice cream, a Dalmatian, whatever you want to see it as. It's just a nice, pretty mix of black and white. And now, this is a chert. I love chert. I don't know if I've already mentioned that. Chert is just so cool. I have no notes aside from that. Yeah, so this is a chert, which is kind of what you tend to expect to see. I know that I showed you guys the chert with the amphibole inclusions. You don't tend to expect chert to look so, I guess, not plasticky, but it can in that case. This is another piece of chert. This was easier to tell because it looks more like what you expect chert to look like, these two pieces, versus the one with amphibole inclusions. So, to the best of my knowledge, that is all that I have for you guys today for gemstones, geodes, the rest of the tiny little rocks. The next video will be fossils. Now, I may not be able to tell you exactly what the fossils are because, you know, that was never my field of expertise, but I can show you that I have them. And I can show you the different ones and what I think they are, which is the best that I can do with my limited knowledge. If you guys have fossils as well, you can always feel free to talk about them with each other in the comments, obviously for the next video, or to show them to like a professional who might be able to tell you what they are. But anyways, that's for next video. Let's focus. Come on, cat. So for this video, for the gemstones and all that, if you guys want to talk about your gemstones, your geodes, your tiny little cute natural forms of minerals, go ahead. If you have a comment to make about any of my rocks, especially if you think I got something wrong, also let me know. I'm always open. Like I said, it's been 2 years since I got my degree. Well, almost 2 years at this point. So I am open to the fact that I could be wrong in certain things. I did do my due diligence, of course, in testing as many different characteristics as possible with my equipment. But yeah, I could still get it wrong, especially with my limited equipment. Besides that, I hope you guys actually enjoyed this. Sorry if I kind of rambled or went off topic a few times there, but, you know, it's I didn't wake up that long ago. Let's just put it that way. I'm still kind of sleepy. And I had to immediately go get this done, so I'm going to blame it on the blood loss. I hope you guys have a great day, and of course, as per usual, stay curious.